Hola, muy buenas. This is going to be a video on present tense verb conjugation en español, but for regular verbs, verbs that follow the rules that we'll outline here. And to show how verbs conjugate, we're going to use a chart like this that shows how we organize the endings. Now, the video is in English. There is some demand for, could you explain this in English just once? So here it is, but we can certainly say the letters in Spanish. If you're learning Spanish, there's never any reason to say letters in English, say them in español. So how does this chart work? We always write first person on the top left. First person, I, is yo. Yo means I. And we'll put the ending here in a moment. Tú means you, but the informal you, the familiar you, and we'll fill a you ending in a moment. Él is he, ella is she. So the third person ending will go here. And usted, abbreviated like this, but usted, means the same as tú, but it is formal and takes a third person ending, third person conjugation. Nosotros means we. Vosotros means you, the plural of tú, but is European. It's only used in Spain. Ellos is they, masculine. Ellas, they, feminine. Ellos would be just for two males or more, or mixed males and females. Ellas would only be for females. They, but only females in the group. Ustedes is the plural of usted. It means you also. It is formal, as opposed to vosotros, which is informal. So ustedes, you two, you three, you 25 people, is a plural you, and it's the only way to say plural you in Las Americas, because there is no vosotros. It's abbreviated UDS. So we've seen here how the subject pronouns each relate to the spaces on the chart, and how we organize them. So knowing what the spaces on the chart mean, they relate to the subject pronouns, we can add the endings now, and we'll point out that there are three types of verbs in Espanol, so three charts for endings. The first type of verb in Espanol are all verbs that end in, with the letters in Espanol, a, erde. All verbs that end in a, erde. And verbs that end in e, erde. And verbs that end in e, erde. So the endings for verbos a, erde in the yo form is o. The ending is o. In the tú form, a, ese. As is the ending. In the él, ella, usted form, a. Él, ella, y usted. Amos, A-M-O-S, amos is for nosotros. For vosotros, A, I, S, and there's an accent over the A, ais, y an for the ellos form. So to see how this works, take a regular verbo a, erde, we'll find the color, you can see a little better there. A regular AR verb would be estudiar, to study. And I can't just say I and then estudiar. I have to conjugate this verb using the ending for yo. I means yo. And then I must conjugate the verb by removing, we will always remove the a erde or a erde. We'll remove the ending from the infinitive and add the ending for yo. Yo estudio is I study. For you study, tú estudias. We add the tú ending. And for he or she studies, or usted estudia, nosotros estudiamos. Amos is the ending for nosotros. And for vosotros, vosotros estudiáis. A-I-S, estudiáis. You all study, you both study. And for ellos, ellas, or ustedes, estudian. Ustedes estudian can be you all study, you both study, or they study. Ellos estudian. So to write all of our endings, yo estudio, tú estudias, we can write them all out here. Él or ella estudia, usted estudia, nosotros, and here's the stem, estudi, having dropped the AR, and we add amos, estudiamos, as we study. Y vosotros estudiáis, vosotros estudiáis, A-I-S is the ending. Y ellos estudian. So having made a chart to organize the endings by subject pronoun, we could write out all of the conjugations for the verb estudiar in the present tense. So for un verbo e erde, and remember with this letter e, we're talking about e erde. That letter in Espanol sounds like, sounds like the a in egg. E, the letter is e. No? So para un verbo e erde, the yo form ending is still o, but the tú form ends in es, es. And the él, ella, usted form ends in e, and the nosotros form ends in hemos. Vosotros ends in e, y, s, pronounced, if you just read the ending ace, ace, and ellos ends in N, A-N-A, N. So a verb like comer, to eat, is a regular ER verb. Drop the AR, and for the yo form, o, yo como is I eat. Tú comes is you eat. Tú comes. Y ella come, she eats, or usted come, you eat, but formal. Nosotros comemos, nosotros is we, so we eat. Y vosotros coméis. Y ellos comen. So that's plugging in the endings. We can write them all out. Yo como, tú comes, él, ella, usted come. Nosotros comemos, vosotros coméis, y ellos comen. They eat as ellos comen. And then there are verbos ER. They're going to have their own endings here, and we'll organize them in a chart. Remember, this letter E is like the E in the word sheet, as in a sheet of toilet paper. Sheet. So this letter is E. You see, E, ER. Make sure we have our vowels clear. Entonces, the yo form ends in O. Again, but the tu form ends in AS, like a verbo AR. They have a common ending, AR in verbos ER. And the third person A. But the nosotros form is imos. AR verbs was amos, ER verbs is amos, and imos for IR verbs. Is, with an accent, is vosotros. Is. So again, a different ending for IR verbs, and vosotros, en, looks like the ER or verbos AR ending. So abrir is to open. We'll conjugate that. Yo abro. And the tu form ending is es. Tú abres, you open. Y ella or él or usted abre. Nosotros abrimos, we open, abrimos. Vosotros abrís. Y ellos abren. And we should write all of these forms now. Yo abro, I open, yo abro. Tú abres. Él abre. Ella abre, usted abre. Usted abre would be like you open. Abrimos is we open. Abrís. Y ellos abren. And we've then conjugated verbos ARD, ARD, ERD for regular verbs. And we see things like this. Look at them all now, and all the yo forms end in O for regular verbs. We can count on that for regular verbs, the yo forms will end in O. And for the tu form, comer y abrir have a common tu form ending. They both end in es. Estudiar does not. AR verbs end in as. The third person ends in A for both comer y abrir. ARD or ERD both end in A for el, but estudiar does not. The nosotros forms are not common for comer y abrir. They end in amos or imos. Vosotros forms are not common. They end in es or is, but the ellos forms are common. They end in en for both comer y abrir. And AR verbs are sort of apart. So look up at AR verbs and also notice that the AR shows up, that vowel A shows up in many of the endings. And for verbos AR, the vowel A shows up in many of the endings. But for verbos ER, this vowel E only shows up in nosotros and vosotros endings. The other endings look much like the AR endings. And all ellos endings again end in N. All tu endings end in S. That's for all present tense tu forms. And all nosotros forms end in mos, but amos, hemos, and imos. So there are three types of verbs in Espanol. All verbs written in their infinitive form end in erde, but erde, erde, erde. And separating them goes a long way to explaining conjugation. And the same thing will happen in the past tense or other. This was the present tense, and this was regular verbs. You can go on now to irregular verbs and see how some other changes, such as stem changes, become a factor. And I hope you'll be open in the future to watching these videos in Espanol once you see how this works. If you're learning Spanish, it would be beneficial to you to watch the video in Espanol and let the screen, the notes, help you understand.